Welcome to The State of Us. Real people with honest opinions and the future of responsible media. Here's your host, Justin T. Weller.
Some schools are nixing homework while others are teaching resilience. The number of hours doing homework has been increasing while anxiety about academics, according to students, is increasing and test scores have been dropping. Holy moly, what's going on? Well, we're going to give you the lowdown. And of course you care because maybe you're a student listening to this. We hope you are. There's a lot of great educational stuff, both directly as it pertains to education and generally about the world that you can learn from this program. And you might also care because you're a parent, have been a parent, or you're just a good human being who thinks that educating the youth is important and doing it in an effective way is even more important. So those are some of the ways you could care, but feel free to insert your own and let us know how you care, why you care in the comments at TrueChat.org. Take to social media, find us at TrueChat.org. Let us know your thoughts. But of course, we can't begin any conversation on education without our senior historian, very experienced educator, and
your friendly redneck liberal, Lance Jackson.
Yes, sir. What's up?
You friendly today?
Nope.
Okay. So Ryan lied then, huh?
Well,
that's it. That's your announcer's name.
I'm friendly as long as you don't say anything silly.
Okay. Don't sneak up on him with anything. Yeah. With anything too outside. So you want to go homework or failure first? Which one you feeling first?
Spend
the first half of the show on one, back half of the show on the other.
Yeah.
How's that? Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, which one?
Let's do failure first.
Okay, failure first. Get the failure out of the way. So this is from the Wall Street Journal, Wednesday, December 19th edition. One of the chart that's related to this article is highlighting academic anxiety. The share of college graduates who said that academics had been traumatic or very difficult for them to handle in the prior 12 months. In 2010, this was around 44% who said that academics had been traumatic or very difficult in the past 12 months. While in 2018, that is now up to a little above 50%. So 6% increase since 2010 in those who find academics to cause anxiety. The school's Office of Student Success hands out certificates now, giving students and others permission to screw up, quote, and still be a totally worthy, utterly excellent human being, end quote, according to that document. Colleges nationwide are trying to instill in students a concept that seems contrary to encouraging excellence. It's okay to fail sometimes. Vanderbilt University, Princeton University, and other schools have workshops and post online classes with students and staff discussing their failures and moments of self-doubt, while University of Montana students post, quote, best fail ever, end quote, stories on bulletin boards around campus, and Colorado State University has passed out thousands of stickers with inspirational quotes about resilience. Add to that the bubble of parental protection and the high stakes associated with attending a pricey college, and schools say students need help understanding that stumbles are inevitable. Quote, children do not become strong if they are protected from setbacks, teasing, exclusion, and conflicts, end quote, said Jonathan Haydett, a professor of ethical leadership at New York University's Stern School of Business and co-author of, quote, The Coddling of the American Mind, How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure, end quote.
Man, you read a bunch. Thought those were like one, read one, say something, read one, say something.
Right. I just figured we just get them out there.
Oh,
because I know you're ready. So tell us about failure, Lance.
Which one? Which one you want to talk about?
Which one do you feel inclined to discuss first?
I feel inclined to discuss the coddling of young people.
Okay.
I think that you set them up for failure if you do not teach them. I mean, I've said it many, many times on this show that the one way we fail young people today is we don't give them the tools to deal with failure. They need that because failure happens. I mean, that's a part of life, and there's a lot to there's a lot to learn from failure. And I think when we don't let kids fail and we tell them how wonderful they are and everybody gets a prize and everybody gets a medal and nobody loses, that we're not teaching them life skills. We're teaching them a false hope of what is out there. And, I know people, I understand I've done this before. I've heard the arguments. Well, but we need to protect people and we need to change things so that doesn't happen just because life's that way, that, we need to change the way life is. And if we treat everybody as equals, and everything will be fine. And then we don't have to worry about failure. And it's like, okay, I don't want to be Pollyanna, but that's not the way it works. It just isn't. And there's nothing, and by the same token, then with the tools, there's nothing wrong to fail. Major League Baseball players are in the Hall of Fame if they make an out 7 out of 10 times. If they get on base 3 out of 10 times, they're considered the best in their profession. If an NBA player makes 4 out of 10 shots, they're a millionaire. It's okay. Failure is innate in a lot of things. You can't always be successful. And so you need to learn to deal with these failures. And one of the worst things we do is to tell children, it'll be okay. It's all right. No, let's deal with your emotions. Let's deal with the fact that you did fail. You didn't get the lead in the play. You don't get to sing the solo at the 5th grade concert. Okay. That hurts. I understand that. That hurts. That's something you want to do. Okay. Let's deal with the pain. Let's deal with,
how do we get it the next time?
Why? Yeah. And what do we do? And then that's down the road.
I know.
What do we do to improve down the road? But for right now, let's deal with the pain. It is this, okay, you're really hurt now, but is it going to be the end of the world when you wake up tomorrow? And after you've gone to school tomorrow, I can't go to school tomorrow. Everybody's going to laugh at me. Okay, they might. And if you laugh with them, you know what? 10 minutes later, everybody's going to the lunchroom and doing fine. Everybody's doing their math test or whatever. There are things that you can learn that way because the same thing happens at work. It's like the poor Eagles wide receiver yesterday who had a pass go right through his hands that was intercepted, and his team might have been able to win the game had he caught the pass. It wasn't going to lead to he wasn't going to score a touchdown on it, but they would have gotten a first down and had been very close to scoring a touchdown.
It would have been helpful.
That might have led to them winning the game. And what did he do afterwards? He said, man, I should have had that ball. And he feels horrible.
Yeah.
But he didn't it didn't matter. No, he said, it mattered. That's what I get paid to do. Should have caught it, but he faced it.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably
owned it.
He owned it. And he probably feels bad today, and he'll feel bad for a couple of weeks, and he may never forget it. But because he never forgets it, he may catch 3 game-winning touchdown passes in the next 5 Super Bowls or whatever. You don't know. Sometimes you can use that failure as an impetus to be successful, but not if you don't have people who teach you. That's why I said, the whole point of that was he owned up to it. He didn't make excuses. He didn't say, the lights got in my eyes, or I didn't put enough stickum on my gloves, or the ball was wobbly,
right, or
I thought I was going to get drilled. He just, no, man, I should have caught that ball. I should have. You're right. I messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the healthy way to deal with failure.
Accept it and
move on. I screwed up.
Yep. Well, and like you said, oftentimes it's a place to start for whatever you're tackling next, whether you can go for that same thing again or whatever the next thing is. Those failures are part of what build resolve to not let that kind of thing happen again. Again, whether it's the exact same thing like catching a pass in that scenario, or whether it's something different like that job you wanted that you didn't get and you just got to keep, applying for the other jobs. Whatever the situation is, it has wide application. But that's, at least for me, it's been one of the enduring things why, for example, with TrueChat, that I keep going, because there's been way more failures than successes. If we add them up, there's, tons of times where, and little and large in between, there's failures every day that are little tiny things that didn't go exactly the way that, I wanted them to go or that I had envisioned them going. But gee, if we just, if just every time we failed, we just denied it and didn't think about, okay, why did I fail? What could I have done better?
Or we blame others.
Right.
Or, we never accept responsibility for the failure,
then we don't go anywhere. I mean, or we go backwards a lot of times if it's always somebody else's fault, or if, you never are going to be critical and look at kind of what you did or what you could have done better, so that, again, hopefully in the future, you don't do the same thing again. You don't make the same mistake.
Well, and sometimes you just have to realize, you don't have the skills for this.
Right.
For whatever it is.
Sometimes you just can't.
Maybe you want to be a nuclear scientist or whatever, and you don't have the math skills. And no matter how many hours of studying you do or whatever, you just don't have the skills that are necessary to do it. Okay. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a failure in life. It just means you need to decide to do something else. Mm-hmm. And that's where we don't direct kids and lead children. And then they turn into adults that are the same thing. Well, I didn't get the raise because the boss doesn't like me. Well, I didn't get the raise because, so-and-so tells them a joke every day. Well, I didn't get the promotion because, they don't like the kind of clothes I wear. Well, come on. Yes, maybe some of that can be true, but most of the time, and what are you going to do about it? You going to sit there and complain about it?
Right.
Are you owning up to the fact that every time you get mad, you go off on a fellow worker in front of customers? I don't know how many times I've seen that I've been a party to that, where the employees are talking about things that they shouldn't be talking about, or saying things they shouldn't be saying in front of me as a customer.
Right.
And it's like,
bad mouthing the business or the boss,
right.
Or it's like, oh my gosh.
Gee, do you think that some of that might have gotten back to them as to why you didn't get the raise, or why you weren't given the promotion, or whatever? It didn't have anything to do with the way you wear your hair, or you have a tattoo, or whatever.
Well, and let's even say it does, right? It's about this all the time. People, they get upset about, quote unquote, the rules of the game, instead of figuring out how to use the rules to their advantage. And I'm all for, I've said, Lance, many a times, if you don't like the rules, then do something to help change them. But if you're not willing to change the rules, then quit complaining about it and learn how to play by the rules. Let me say it is something stupid, like your boss doesn't like the way you dress. If you're not willing to confront them or their superior and say, this is why I think I didn't get this promotion, if you're unwilling to do that, then change how you dress, and then when you're that person's boss, you can dress however the heck you want. And it's kind of cold, because should it matter? No, it shouldn't. But it doesn't mean that in some cases it doesn't. That just goes back to, again, so are we going to play the game, or are we going to quit and go home because the game was, too tough? Well, we have a great new podcast launching later this week, Lance, on Thursday, Leadership Reimagined. And I was producing the first episode. It's a pre-recorded program. And I really enjoyed the first one. 2 very successful women on there talking about how women can advance in leadership, and just such a unique perspective on how they position themselves to get into the industry and then to start changing things. It was, we're going to get to the top and then it's up to us. That's, that's kind of how they looked at it, is we can do it however we want once we're the ones making the calls.
That's right.
We can make the system what we want it to be. So some of that, I think, is we inadvertently teach kids that the system is wrong always, and that they're always right, and then that, like you said, that carries over into life. And that's why you get so many people that I think are unhappy in their jobs, because they don't get to where they want to be because they convince themselves that it's everybody else's fault, And it's not to say that others don't share responsibility in it. It's just, at some point you have to realize you're not going to make them change, but you can make you change.
Right. I was just thinking exactly what I was thinking is, if you've had failure and you continue to have failure, then maybe you need to change something, and don't be afraid of the change, and try it and see if it makes it better for you.
Right.
It's okay. Change is all right. And sometimes, people don't like change. Well, I want my little comfy whatever. I like my mommy waking me up every day and tucking me in at night and cooking all my meals for me. Okay. But you're 25 years old. Get up on your own, go get your own job, make your own meals, get there, find out, make a little change in your life and see maybe you'll be even happier because, and why are you so disgruntled? Why are you constantly mad at your parents and your siblings? Because you're still living at home and they're doing everything for you at a time when you should be out there doing your own thing. Well, but I might fail. I don't have enough to pay for the rent. Well, okay, go live with somebody else. Get 2 or 3 roommates. Well, I don't want to do that because then
XYZ.
They'll make it dirty and, they won't do their part and they won't. Okay. Then work hard and get a better job or work more hours so that you only have to live with 1 roommate instead of 2 or no roommates. I mean, that's the way all of us did. Mm-hmm. You have those choices. It is a choice. You don't, so many times people think, well, I don't have any choices. There's nothing I can do. What can I change? Well, there are tons of things.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But not if we don't teach you that. If you're coddled and said, you're right. That teacher's wrong. That principal was mean to you. Those other kids are mean to you too. Okay. You know what? They may be mean to you, but maybe there's something that you're doing that's causing them to be mean or whatever, and sometimes you just have to face those things. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to let people know who you are and what you stand for. And sometimes that's tough, but sometimes you find out other people start to like you because of that. They like the fact, wow, look at him. Look at her. She stood up for herself. I like that person. That's somebody I want to hang out with. Then all of a sudden you have other people. You have other friends. You have other, I don't know. It just really, really bothers me that we have when I got out of the school system, it was basically a no-fail policy that you, the teacher, had to do everything to try to make sure the student passed. I was like, wait a minute. That's on the student.
Yeah.
The student has the right to fail. And I can't tell you the number of times that I had students come up to me and say, Mr. Jackson, I failed that test or I'm failing your class and I need to pass. What do I need to do? And we had a chance to sit down and I talked to them about what they needed to do and what they needed to change. And many times they did. And they're like, hey, I feel so good about myself because now I'm passing your test and I'm getting A's and I'm actually helping my buddies at the lunch table because they don't understand it and I do. And wow, good for you.
Yeah.
You took the onus to say what can I do so that I can be successful? Not what does everybody else need to do to make sure that I'm successful?
Yep.
And so anyway.
Control what you control, right?
But we have
said it so many times.
But we have a generation now that has been coddled with the helicopter parents and all of the other things, in school districts that don't allow students to fail. And we're going to put 52 people on the cheerleading squad because everybody who tries out gets to be a cheerleader or, whatever. You have to find a part for everybody in the school musical. And it's like, that's not reality, people. And if you don't teach young people how to deal with reality, how do they learn it as adults?
I think we're seeing the evidence because the last thing on this, and then we'll get to the homework. I think we're experiencing the evidence. I know I am. I mean, I have friends who I know are the evidence that this is not working. The way that we have approached this is not working. And it has to change because, and I'm not trying to extrapolate here, Lance, but I don't think that it's too far of a stretch to say that we wouldn't have the kind of student debt that we have. We wouldn't have as many people not working in jobs that they don't want as we have if some of this hadn't been the case. Because the problem with the coddling of the millennial generation, and we'll have to see kind of how it all ends up with Generation Z, is that now there's a lot of us millennials who are just not accustomed to hard choices and failure, and then not accepting defeat. And what I mean by that is not understanding that you failed. I'm not talking about that kind of acceptance. I mean, the resilience to keep going, to say that this one failure doesn't mean that the whole season is lost. There's still other games to be played.
That doesn't identify me.
Right.
This one failure does not identify me.
Yeah. I'm not going to define my existence by or I'm not going to ignore this. I'm not going to tell people that I'm 5-0 when I'm actually 5-3. I'm okay admitting that, yeah, I made that mistake. I messed up, and here's what I'm doing now that's different. I think that a lot of that is there's a fear that if I don't make a choice about, for example, going to higher education, and if I don't, then once I'm there, if I don't make a choice about, what I want to do, that I won't be safe, that I can't be successful if I don't do those things. And obviously to some degree, there is probably some truth to that, but at the same note, thinking that way then is, I would imagine, Lance, what's causing this increase in academic anxiety. They're so stressed about, school is everything. And if I mess it up, then everything is lost. And it's just, it's not the case. I mean, the true story. 5th and 6th grade, Lance, were terrible for me. Terrible. 6th grade was way worse than 5th grade. I mean, I was D's and F's, lots of them. And if I got a C, that was good. And B's were much, were the high mark, I guess you could say. And I did not grow up in a household where those kind of grades were ever acceptable.
Right.
And, up until then, I'd always done fine. And, after then I did fine. And part of going through that was it was a, awkward phase for me, especially in 6th grade, as middle school is for many people. But I didn't have as many friends. I didn't get very good grades. And, there were reasons for all of that, but it came down to later as I kept going, do I want it to stay this way or do I want it to change? And so I decided I didn't like it this way. And it started to change. And I think 8th grade year ended up with, straight A's. So, it's just, I get that there are other circumstances and that every situation's unique, but some of these things just seem to apply universally, that there's so many problems we have as a result of this unwillingness to fail. Because if you were more willing to fail, you'd go try more things out.
Yes.
And then we would have a better idea of what we want, and then we do what we need to go get that, instead of we don't know what we want, so we picked something because we feel like that's what we have to do, otherwise we won't be safe. Well,
it's like when Edison with the light bulb, right?
Yeah.
I didn't fail 1,500 times. I found 1,487 things that didn't work.
Right.
It's all a mindset of how you approach things. But anyway, why are we doing this?
Oh.
Why are we talking about this today?
Well, that's a great question, Lance, and very appropriate timing too. Well, we're doing this because the podcast on TrueChat are pursuing a common goal, and that's amplified by TrueChat's, or amplified? Is that a word?
Amplified?
Not embodied. That's what
embodied,
I was going for.
Okay.
I put amplified and embodied together. That's embodied by TrueChat's mission.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You can recover and the show will continue.
That's right. See, life didn't end. I combined two words and we had a good laugh. TrueChat's mission is to educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations. And, I think we're embodying that honest and open part today by admitting that, failure happens to everybody, to me, to Lance, to all of you out there. I'd imagine that most of our listeners probably understand that. But if you haven't, or if you've been a product of this, fight it. You don't have to just accept that that's the way it is. So no homework, Lance. People, let us know. Were you coddled or were you not coddled? And how are you handling your situation today? How do you look at failure? At TrueChat.org on social media. Connect with us, and let us know. No homework, say schools. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, Thursday, December 13th edition, Lance. School districts across the country are banning homework. Yes, banning homework, forbidding it on certain days, or just not grading it in response to parents who complain of overload and some experts who say too much can be detrimental. So, the goal of the change is to give students more time to read, sleep, and spend time with family, especially at the elementary level, school administrators say. Quote, student wellness is becoming a much larger issue, end quote, said Mark Toback, a superintendent of Wayne Township Public Schools in Wayne, New Jersey, which had its first homework-free weekend in October. The average number of hours high school students spend on homework increased from 6.8 in 2007 to 7.5 in 2016, the latest year available from the U.S. Department of Education. The average hours for students in K through 8th stayed flat at 4.7 during those years. Harris Cooper, a professor of psychology and neuroscience at Duke University, found that homework has little impact on elementary students. Little impact. Junior high students showed higher achievement when doing homework, up to 60 to 90 minutes a night, and high school students up to 2 hours. Dr. Cooper concluded that those who go over these time limits could become frustrated and lose interest in the subject. It could also crowd out other activities. So the synopsis here, Lance, is pretty simple. These schools are responding to parents' complaints and some data that too much homework could be too much and that maybe we're wasting time on it at the elementary level. So what do you think about these findings?
Well, I do think at elementary levels, there's a significant showing that what most kids should be doing is very limited. And if anything, they should be spending time being read to or reading, working on their word recognition and word skills and sentence structures and all those kinds of things that you get from reading. I found it very interesting, though, that some of the parents that are complaining are saying, well, but they have to go to dance class and they have to go to soccer and then they have their piano lesson and whoa.
Extracurricular.
Why do you have them doing all this other stuff? I mean, I'm really sorry. You know, I really am. I feel sorry for these kids and these parents who think they have to be doing something every night of the week. I thought that getting an education was what was most important. You know, why do you have them so busy in something all the time? When do they ever get a chance to go outside and be a kid and play? Oh, that's right. We don't allow them to do that anymore.
It's dangerous.
Yes. It's dangerous for them to be outside. Okay. I'm sorry. I have a real problem with this, especially at young ages.
Yeah.
You know, they have, I mean, again, as you get older, if you decide that you want to do these things, you know, but I know my daughter, my wife's a teacher. Both my daughters are currently teachers. One teaches junior high school, fifth graders through 12th graders. My other daughter teaches in post-secondary in a college setting. And it's a athletic training program where they have to pass a national board test in order to, and they get, well, this is too hard. Your test questions are too hard. Well, I have to study like 5 hours for your test. And it's like, yeah, because when you graduate, you don't get to practice your profession unless you pass the national board test. You have to know
That's
this
the bar.
stuff. Well, you expect us to be able to do this in blah, 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 blah amount of time. Right. Because on the national board test, you have X number of questions and you only have so many minutes to take the test. That only gives you, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to read and then dissect and then figure out your answer. And oh, by the way, what are you going to be doing? Well, what you've chosen to do is when two people run into each other on a playing field, you have to go out and you're the first person on the scene to assess the problem and decide what needs to be done. And it might be a life or death situation. So do you want somebody who's just, they're pretty good?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm getting a kick out of that one commercial now with, I don't even know what it's for, but the doctor comes in and, the patient's getting ready for surgery and they ask the nurse, is Dr. So-and-so very good? Well, he's all right. And the doctor comes in from the hallway. Hey, guess who just got off of probation? Yeah. Well, not really, but almost. And he looks at the patient. He goes, You nervous? And the patient goes, yeah. He goes, me too, but we'll go in there if what we can do. Okay. We'll do the best we can. And everybody's like, and, obviously the person's like, wow, is this really who I want to be my doctor? But if you don't work for it,
right,
then that's what you're going to get. I mean, we're going back to failure again.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody can be a doctor. Not everybody can be an athlete. Do you want the airplane pilot
to not know?
Yeah,
for sure?
to not know how to land the plane.
to be so-so?
I'm so-so. I mean, normally I land it pretty well.
Normally we get in there okay. Only 1 out of 10 times I crash. So it's okay. Yeah. It's all right to mess up a few times every now and then. Just crash the plane. Yeah.
I just don't get this. And, the whole homework thing is sometimes, and what was really apparent in the article anyway, and it may not be true, and I'm willing to listen, but the parents had their kids overscheduled in other things, and then they were complaining because of the homework. Right.
There's the deferring the blame again, though, too, right? It's not that I've let them be in too many things. It's that the school doesn't give them enough time to be in other things.
Right.
So,
and
it's just different.
And in high school, how many times did you get a long-term project? And then you waited until the last weekend to start it.
Right.
And then mom and dad are like, oh my gosh, how do I expect you to get this done? I don't know, mom. I don't know, dad. I mean, gee whiz, they just gave it to me on Friday. No, they gave it to you 4 weeks ago.
Right.
And you chose to wait until the last weekend to get it done.
So there's your time management.
Right. There's a time management issue that needs to be taught.
Let me give the listeners this to think about, because I wrote this down as you were talking about, why do the parents have them in so many activities? And this is not deferring blame, because I think this is all, I'm going to link it back here. This is all part of the cycle. Because, Lance, if my kid's going to be successful, they have to do what after high school? They have to go to college, right? And anymore, you can't just be smart, because colleges don't want smart people. They all have to be smart. So now you also have to do 50 bajillion things to be competitive, because everybody does 50 bajillion things and everybody's trying to go to college. So hopefully people are getting what I'm getting at here, which is, again, if we're all trying to go for the same thing, if we've all said that the level of success is everybody goes to college if you want to be any good, then that makes it harder to get in. Because there's still only so many colleges and there's only so many places. And so it's harder to get into these places, which means that there has to be all these more activities, which means it's harder to do homework, which in turn means it's harder to get good grades, which in turn means it's harder to get into college. Do we not see how this is a big problem? I'm not saying that going to college isn't the answer. I'm saying that as long as we define that as the end point of my kid's okay now that they've made it to college, we're going to keep having this problem. It doesn't end just because they made it to college. I have so many friends who it didn't end there. I have some really smart friends who have gone through some really bad stuff. I'm talking mental hospital bad stuff.
Right.
Because they thought they were done. They made it to college, they graduated, and now it's okay. No, it's just starting. It's just starting.
Right.
All the hard stuff's yet to come. And I'm sorry.
You did all of that just to get to the hard stuff.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts, please, at TrueChat.org, because to me, that's the problem right there, is we've led people to believe that that's the golden ticket and that it ends there, and it doesn't. It just begins. Let us know your thoughts at TrueChat.org. Join the discussion. Make sure you're tuning in everywhere fine podcasts are found. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all of those places.
You got them.
For the State of Us on TrueChat in Urbana. I'm Justin T. Weller.
And I'm Lance Jackson.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Be the change.